nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
The meeting will please come to order. We do have proof of posting in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, as amended, known as the Texas Open Meetings Act. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Anyone that has discussion on the ballot situation will take under number 1. Not normally something that we do, but we will have our discussion and then give anyone an opportunity to ask any questions. So are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any other topics? If not, we'll go to item number 1, mail-in ballots. We were notified that there had been some mistakes on some ballots that were mailed out as to which precincts. So we are here this morning to provide information and clarity about the process and what is being done now.
We have hired a company called C-Change to mail out our ballots. First of all, we do a relational table, which is the precincts to which ballot they would receive. We sent them the actual ballots. They put the codes on the bottom as far as the ballot styles. We have Republican and Democrat. So therefore, the precinct you're in will be the ballot you would get with the relational table. If you're in precinct 1, we're talking voting precincts, not commissioner precincts, then you would get a ballot style BS1. Goes on down all the way, BS2, BS3, through the 1 through 15 precincts. Then it goes down to Republican, would be the same thing. BS1 through BS15 with the R behind it with Republican. We therefore send out requests of applications for ballot by mail that has the precinct on it, and through all of this process, C-Change has worked with us. We've tried very hard to communicate with them. They're not returning calls. They're not answering emails or anything. We understood they were supposed to give us a written answer of what's going on and what has happened. As of now, they've still not returned our calls or given us any answers. Therefore, we have got immediately on the phone with the attorneys at the Secretary of State's office. We have an email that I provided with y'all to each of you what the answers were in the process that we're following, because we're following the laws exactly what they stated for us to do, which the only correction would be to mail corrected ballots. We have everyone's name who requested a ballot, what precinct they're in, and we corrected in-house and mailed all of the ballots out corrected. As far as Republican ballots sent out, we're going to talk commissioner precincts on this. There was 45 ballots that are affected. Commissioner precinct 2, 24 applications. Precinct commissioner number 3, 53. Commissioner precinct number 4, 28. Out of the 168 ballots mailed out as of Monday, 2/17, 18 of those were mailed in-house and were correct. When we say mailing out in-house, anyone that has to receive a statement of residence, we have to mail those out because C-Change does not do the statement of residence to be put into the actual ballot. So therefore, those were taken care of in-house. 150 of the C-Change mailed out were mailed out corrected. They were mailed 150 corrected ballots out on 2/18 of 2020 and 2020. 2/20/2020. So those days, those all corrected ballots were mailed out in the mail. As of 2/21/2020, there has been 12 Republican ballots returned. I was looking at 2014 as far as the return scenario. There was 185 requested Republican ballots and only 150 returned. That'll give you a little bit of insight 4 years ago how many was requested and how many were returned back. I don't know if that would help anybody in any way, but you never get all your ballots back for sure. Are there any questions as far as that we can answer so far? As of today, there's 17 ballots returned. Okay, 17 ballots returned. How the correction is made, we
still will get them until election day, is that correct?
That's correct. The results will not be coming back as normal, as quick as possible, because we can accept ballots up until 7 p.m. on election night. Those ballots, original ballots that are returned, will not be counted until 7 p.m. due to anyone may walk their ballots in, or we go check the mail at 7 p.m. on election day, and any corrected ballot will replace the original ballot that's returned. So we are going to do every effort in my office to make sure things are done proper from here forward.
And all of those go to the ballot board, is that correct?
That's correct.
Matched up and
That's right. The ballot board will make those determinations of if a ballot counts or if it doesn't.
Is that ballot board, is that public, who those people are on that ballot board?
Yes, sir, I don't have that list with me.
Are there 3 of them usually?
Alicia, can you remember how many we have this time? We have more than
3 for each party.
each party is supposed to be in. The early voting ballot board is chosen by your Republican chair and your Democrat chair.
So it'll be 6 people, 3 for me.
Should be, unless they don't get enough, then that's on their end, how many there will be.
And what will their duties be? Will their duties will also be to
Count the ballots.
will they also authorize signatures, things like that?
That's correct. They will take the application and match it to the ballot. The ballot must be signed on the back, and they see if the signatures match the application and the actual ballot return, and they'll make that determination that that's a good ballot to count. Okay, what I've done for the correction, we have a notice of correction to the ballot by mail. It's put into every corrected ballot. And so therefore it lets them know that destroy the ballot, the original ballot, don't even return it to us, and to mark the corrected ballot. The corrected ballot has a yellow envelope that has corrected ballot on it. It is clearly marked corrected ballot. The one C change mailed out originally is white and was wrong in the first place, and we tried to get answers for that and still haven't gotten an answer why they didn't do the correct mailing.
And as they're coming in, you may be going to get to that. As they're coming in, you're putting those white ones in a separate.
Correct. The ballots are locked in a ballot box with locks that the sheriff's office has the key. We have corrected ballots marked Republican, corrected ballots Democrat. They go in their separate boxes. We have original ballots Democrat, original ballots Republican. They're put in separately. Same thing on the in-house, or we put in-house, I believe labeled in-house, that any that were mailed in-house that were not by C change nor corrected, those go in a complete separate ballot box. So there's 6 ballot boxes that our early voting ballot board will be taking care of, and counting the ballots is on them to do what's needed done. They will be provided a list of corrected ballots returned. They will be provided an original ballot sent out that they can compare the two to make sure that the corrected is the one counted, and they will not even look at the original ballot. I've done everything in my power to do what the law says for me to do with the mistake that C Change has made. Not that this is any comfort, but C Change is having trouble with the state, all over the state of Texas, of anyone using them. There's major problems. We are not the only county.
Commissioners have other questions?
I do. When you get the ballots back in y'all county, how do you know if those people, what precinct they're in?
Because it's on the list.
But I mean, if those 3 people, Democrat and Republican, are they gonna know whose name that is on there, and what precinct they're in?
Yes, sir, the list has it.
They are?
Yes, sir. They're not going to look at the ballots and compare the ballots. They have to open and make sure that the signatures match. They put the ballots in a pile. They'll never know whose ballots received. which ballot you voted. That's done in a separate pile. Then the envelopes go over here. They don't compare the ballots, they compare just the jackets.
Yeah. I just talked to a couple yesterday afternoon.
Yes, sir?
These are the last 2 ballots they got, and they got on Saturday, and that makes 6. They've got 3 each. In precinct 3, and precinct 2, and precinct 1.
I'm not aware of that whatsoever. We have a list, and we checked it off, and that list comes from, the Secretary of State has the teams, and just a FYI, it's illegal to handle somebody else's ballots.
Well, I'm going to turn these back to you, because they ain't.
I can't accept them from you. They're not your ballot, it's a law. I'm sorry, that's just the law.
They need to go in the trash or something, because they can't come over and deliver.
I'm trying to figure out.
They got 6 ballots. They got 6
That,
ballots.
that is something that Sea Change may have done some more sending out. I have a list from Sea Change that says exactly what dates they've mailed out and done. It's been a major problem because they cannot verify us in writing who they mailed out, when they mailed out. So anything that we uploaded to them to mail out, we sent a corrected ballot, and only 1 come from us. Those are not in-house. So those did not come from us. Those come from Sea Change. So whatever Sea Change has done, I don't have an answer for, sir. I honestly don't have an answer, but those are not our ballots right there.
Well, they don't really know who to vote for. Maybe they're in
The
their own.
corrected ballot is in there, and the letter that they get states they have a corrected ballot, and it has corrected ballot on the envelope. So the letter stated in there tells them,
Question.
they don't think they're.
The ones that you mailed out?
Yes.
Are they in white envelopes?
no, sir. I mean, no, ma'am, they're in green envelope.
The mail, outside envelope is green.
That's correct, right here. I have you a copy of what we sent out, and Sea Changes are nothing like ours.
These people voted on, I'm pretty sure on the first 2 ballots they got and sent them in, and then they've got 4 ballots since then.
Sir, I honestly don't have an answer to that other than Sea Change. Those are from Sea Change. I've asked for answers from them. I've stopped their service. So if they're continuous in sending them out, it's going to be taken up with the state to take over that company to do whatever needs done. Those are not my ballots, and I've sent only 1 ballot out, corrected ballot to each person with the list I have. I don't honestly have an answer for Sea Change.
Anything else?
What I'm trying to figure out is what is the problem? What has happened? I can't wrap my mind around what has happened. Are people getting the wrong ballots, or mailed
That's
to the wrong
correct.
place, mailed to the wrong
They're getting
precincts?
the wrong ballot. If you were in precinct 2, you may have gotten a precinct 3 ballot. They did not go by the charts that we approved and the ballots we approved. They did not go by what has been approved through them and in writing from us.
Did we use this company the last time?
Yes, we did, and had no problems.
Right. Question. We won't actually know the impact of this until 7 o'clock that night to see how many mail-in ballots were of the original mail out by them and how many corrected ones that we got.
That's
We won't
correct.
know that impact
That's
until
correct. I
then.
do have the impact as far as how many, Commissioner Precinct 3, there's been 53 ballots requested that should have received that ballot. Precinct number 4, I've received, 28 people has received the wrong ballot. Commissioner Precinct 2, 24 have received the wrong ballot. And Commissioner Precinct 1, 45 have.
And
So
that totals to the 150 that they mailed out.
that's correct. And the 150 have been corrected ballots mailed with the envelopes that I show you that's been provided. And it has the letter in it, and it also has corrected ballot on here to where they should know that is the corrected ballot.
Now, all the ones that they mailed out, some of the ones they mailed out might have been correct. We don't
That's a
know.
possibility, but we don't know.
We don't
so
know. What
That's
we know
correct.
is that 45 for 1, 24 for 2, 53 for 3, and 28 for 4 were requested. And that total number was mailed out.
That's
And you
correct.
have mailed out the correct ones now. to those same?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Those have
Anything
been,
else from?
no doubt.
Who gave them the original information about who's running in what precinct? Or who get, somebody from
They
here?
don't get that information. They get the actual ballots that's made up. We don't tell
Who made
them
the
who's.
ballot up?
The state does, the party chair and myself, approve those.
Did anybody check to make sure they were right?
And those are correct.
The ballots are correct.
The ballots themselves are correct. It's just that you may have gotten a precinct 2 ballot.
The ballots are correct, they were just not mailed
They mailed
the correct
So
ballot.
everybody's name, it said precinct 3, everybody's name is on the ballot?
That's
There's not
correct.
some names left off?
No, sir, no names are not left off. The ballots are correct. Spelling's correct, they're in order correct, the ballots are
You want to
perfect.
look at those? She has a copy of all of those, if y'all want to look at them.
That's the ones that were mailed out?
No, sir, these are copies of what we approved to see change, that this precinct number 1 gets ballot BS1D if they're Democrats. And it goes through, it tells what page number right here that each of these are. These ballots are correct. Precinct number 1 gets a BS1R.
So the ballots themselves are correct.
The ballots
So
are
The
perfect.
second, the batch that you mailed out, each person should have a correct ballot now.
They do have the correct ballot mailed out now.
Okay.
How many mail-out ballots total do we have?
It's on here, 150.
That's.
She
the
mailed
whole-
16
I know, but that's, I'm talking about.
There's been a request of 183,
requests.
but we stopped it when we found out on the 17th that ballots were not being done proper. We mailed out the rest ourselves and did not give C Change a chance to mail any more.
168.
183.
Yeah, 168 right here. And
Sorry about that.
Requested.
There you go.
And
That's
then
military.
That's just, that's as of the 17th only, Judge, the 168.
Okay.
And that's
Well, I thought you said
military
the
and
total was
everybody.
183.
There's been one military,
She's
and that's, yes,
got
sir.
a few after this.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So she's saying that, you saying that you mailed them out on the 18th and on the 20th.
That's
That's
correct.
last week, right?
That's correct.
And you mailed them from Fairfield, correct?
Fairfield's Post
Okay.
Office carried them in and put them in the inside box.
Okay, correct. So what Fairfield does is Fairfield sends it from here to Dallas or to Tyler.
I do not know.
I'm just going through the process, I know
Yes,
how it
sir.
goes.
Yes,
So
sir.
they send it from here to Dallas or to Tyler. So if you mailed it on the 20th, Tyler did not get it until the 21st. And by the time it got back to Fairfield, which would probably be today, the majority of the people probably gonna get their ballots today or tomorrow. So if those people mail those ballots today from Fairfield, you might not get those ballots in time.
They can go early vote. And it
What I'm-
cancels out their mail ballot. I've done everything in
Yeah, I
my
understand what you're
ability to do the correction. I've
I
done
understand what
everything
you're
I
saying.
can.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that's not your fault. But I'm saying that some of those people are disabled and they cannot get out.
I do understand that.
And get that ballot to you. I'm saying that their ballot is not gonna make it back to your office, by election day. That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault or anything like that. So, do we have any other way we can assist these people? Have we made any advertisement? Have we notified other than mail?
No, sir, I've done exactly what the Secretary of State
Well, and
has
that
told me
was one
the
reason
laws
for the
work.
meeting today, so that we do have our people here from the newspaper.
Okay.
Hopefully that will come out in the newspaper, and people that watch the YouTube or whatever, and also the little note that was in there. Hopefully they open it and read it, but let's open it up for comments, questions.
I was just gonna ask, kind of the same thing that Clyde did. The total amount for the whole entire county that was requested was 183, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so while I was out, the other day, I had several, I had a few in Butler, and then I had, some off of 27, still have not even received ballots at all. Not a wrong ballot, not a corrected, not a ballot at all.
That's where I'm finding this out from C Change, and that's why as soon as I found that out, I immediately called the state, Right. Talked to the attorneys and got this situation in my hands taken care of my ability.
Right, so my question, I guess, is, even if someone has not received a ballot, or you've mailed to everyone regardless of,
Correct.
if they got one, if they haven't got one, if it was wrong, if it was right, whatever the case may be, all 183 that have been requested has received, or should have been mailed out a corrected one.
That's correct, they have been mailed out, yes ma'am.
We received it, all right.
Anybody else? Yes.
What's the timeline on when the original ballots were mailed out? When were the first ballots mailed, and what's the timeline?
That's what I cannot get through C Change to ask those exact dates. They cannot give me answers. There's problems with C Change, and I can't get any calls, nor I cannot get any emails.
To me, I mean, if people started receiving ballots on February 1st, that's roughly 30 to 32 days prior to the election. The corrected ballots ought to be given the same amount of time before they're
It's the
counted.
state of Texas law. It's not the county clerk's laws at all. It's the state that has those laws set for the whole
And
entire state.
they've not made an exception
No,
because
sir.
of the screw up on the ballots.
No, they informed me that this is statewide going on. They informed me that. That does not make anything okay in our situation. It does not make it okay.
Okay, another question. Is this company gonna be paid being they messed up?
I'm not planning on coding for them to be paid anything.
Okay.
No, sir.
And I've also, in church yesterday, I was asked, there's people talking about it. They're saying they've done it once, they're not gonna do it again. Some people's already filled out ballots, so they won't do it a second time.
Well, I hate to tell you, but that goes on back to the voter. We've done everything in our hands to correct it. We've done everything we can do that the law has allowed me to do. I've done everything. And that's why there's emails and the laws from the Secretary of State attorneys to inform everyone so they would know exactly what's been done and that it's out of my hands, it's been done.
And certainly if anyone has questions, concerns, or whatever, you can call the Secretary of State yourself to just verify whatever information you
Yes.
need to verify. Pam, do you have something?
Yes,
I was just wondering, since, you know, if you send it through the mail, it's probably gonna take some time, just like he was saying. Is there any way that they can just open up a box at the post office, that way they can keep the local mail local instead of going, or you can't do that? You can't do it.
yeah, I don't know the laws of that at all. I will tell you, in the past, I've heard somebody go in and say, hey, I need to put this in the county clerk's box, and they've done it. Whether that's really happened or not, that's a thought to say, hey, can you do that?
So the ballots that were already sent out that were wrong, and somebody turned those back in, what happens to those?
If the correction one comes in, those are put in a box, kept for 22 months, not even opened.
What happens if you don't get the correct one?
They have to be counted. The original ballot has to be counted. That's a state law.
But that would be wrong, wouldn't it, if say if a person.
That's a question for the state's attorneys. That's a question for the state's attorneys because it is a law that we have to follow.
Well, I mean, even if it's a law, it still would be wrong. Seem like if the wrong precinct had the wrong ballot and they turned it in, so it counted for that precinct, even though that was the wrong precinct. It's
I
basically
don't
what
have
I'm
an
saying.
answer on that other than I'm following the law to the best of my ability.
I think what she's saying, if you receive a precinct 1 ballot from a precinct 3 voter
Right.
and say they didn't realize that they were voting a wrong ballot, are you going to let a voter from precinct 3's ballot go towards the box?
I'm not letting nobody do
of 1?
anything. That has to do with the early voting ballot board, and the early voting ballot board does not see that ballot with that person. That ballot is put away anonymously. The envelope that says who that voter is put away anonymously. So therefore, the two don't even match. It's against the law to see how somebody voted. So it's out of our hands. It's following the laws as they give you does not make everything like what we may think is right. But it's out of our hands.
So, but you are saying that if someone in precinct 3 filled out a precinct 1 ballot if there's not a corrected ballot sent in, their vote, even though it's in the wrong precinct, is going to count in precinct 1.
That's right. If you would like a copy of the law that states that, you can come to my office after and I will provide you with that exact law where you can go and have it. It's out of my hands. It's the state's law. And the Secretary of State gave me what I have to do.
So like Craig was saying, if they got 4 ballots and they send all 4 in, all 4 are gonna get counted.
No, sir.
Okay.
1 per person will be counted.
Okay.
1 per person. If
But you don't know which one's gonna be counted, because it's gonna be whichever the first one
It's
is.
the first one that comes in, the rest of them are rejected. No, sir. 1
there's-
ballot per person.
If you got all 4, nobody's gonna verify that there's no way to verify that you're counting the correct ballot.
Right. Unless we receive the correct.
Why would the corrected ballot not be the one counted, not the person received?
It will be.
It will be.
If they get a corrected one in.
Corrected ballot is
Ballot different. If there's not a corrected ballot sent in,
So
then
you
the
don't-
first ballot they submitted has to be
Yes,
sent
the
out.
corrected ballot will take place of the original in. So the corrected ballot is what we're looking for, that it comes in a yellow envelope and has corrected. This will be counted, the other one will not.
If that person sent 2 in.
If they sent the corrected in, yes, sir.
If they do not send the corrected in, the first one will be counted.
And that, I've verified that 2 or 3 times. I've called the state again in question, isn't there anything that I can do to solve that? And they told me, no, I must follow the laws which are here.
So what kind of ballot is that he has in his hand? The one
That looks like what Sea Change has mailed out, the ones that I have seen come back to me. That is what Sea Change mailed out. I do not have an answer, I do not have a solution of what Sea Change has
Wait a
done.
minute, let me finish the question. So that ballot that he has in his hand is like a regular ballot from somewhere else?
I don't know what he's got. That just looks like it's what Sea Change has mailed out.
Well, that's why people saying, I've already voted, because they count on that.
That's why they're,
ballot thing.
that's why they're getting the corrected with a letter in it. There's a letter, it is, and it's on Sea Change's back that they made a mistake. As soon as I found the mistake, I'm trying to fix it.
And also, when someone mails their ballot in, they have to sign it on the back of the envelope. Is that
That's correct.
So that's how the ballot board will match up the names.
That's correct. With its application. When we get a ballot back, we take that application, we put it in a sealed envelope with their name on it, and it goes in a locked box. So that application is put with the actual ballot return.
Well, they didn't, like these people here, they didn't get this yellow ballot first, did they?
Not that I'm aware of. I
They
did not.
didn't get one of these other ones
The
before they used.
ones that
They
you
could
have
have.
gotten so far have been in white envelopes. Is that
Or
correct?
the yellow.
Exactly.
I've received some yellow ones back also.
And this is what we sent, the county sent.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Well, see, the only thing about these folks, I think they voted on the first one they got, then they got these.
That's why the corrected goes out. It should have been second, but I've understood that people are not even receiving their Sea Change ballot in the first place.
But the yellow would have been the one that anything you receive that's yellow is going to be a corrected.
It's gonna be counted.
No, ma'am, it could be in-house sent
Well, yes.
or corrected.
Yes, but the
And-
in-house sent were correct.
That's correct. The in-house were correct, sent out already.
The 18 that you sent out would have come back in the yellow.
That's correct.
All right, so it's not going to be that.
So what you're saying for me to
Other
have
yellow ones floating around.
clarity, so what you're saying is that, if the person don't mail back the corrected ballot, the ballot that they mailed in first is gonna be what you're gonna count.
That's right. That's
Okay.
what the state told me has to happen.
But if precinct 1 has a precinct 3 ballot in it, you're gonna count that ballot, correct?
It must be counted. That's correct.
So
By
precinct
state
three-
law.
Precinct 3 ballot, you're
Yes,
gonna
sir.
count as precinct.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
no, it came, yeah.
I just want, well, and let me say this, I don't blame you for anything that has happened, sound like that, a second party, third party person have created a huge, mess, And so I appreciate you at least getting on top of it. It's not the answer that all of us want to hear, but at least you're trying to correct it and make it.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
On that first envelope that was mailed out, the very first one, is there a place, I mean, is there something that they have to sign that?
On the back.
Yes,
They have to sign that, like you said, there's another one in there that they put their ballot in and sign on that?
Should be.
If it's not signed, then that means it's disqualified and it doesn't.
It disqualifies it, if it's not
Yes,
signed.
if it's not signed, it will not count. Yes, sir.
Linda, are they able to drop these off at your office if they choose
On
not to?
election day only.
On election day.
Why they can't have a deal there like you did before with it?
Because I called the state about that, and that is not something that can happen. It must be by a common carrier or the postal. Yes, I questioned that.
They
Okay.
can drop it off on election day, if anyone wants to do that.
Yes.
From this point forward, can we not keep this in-house from now on, not have this
Yes, sir.
problem later
that's-
on?
Yes, sir, that's exactly what my plan is. Yes, sir.
Good, good,
Yes, sir.
good.
Any other questions? I do apologize for everybody. I know it's tough, but it's been tough on me too.
Yeah.
Just one other question, Linda. So if somebody decides this has kind of been a crazy thing and they decide, okay, they've gotten 4 ballots, 6 ballots, and I just want to go vote, they can go to the poll and vote.
Yes, they
But they
can.
have to fill out something saying
They
no
cancel
longer-
their mail ballot, whether they have not received it, or they can surrender it. That's correct.
Either one, though, they don't have to have it with them.
They do not have to have their ballot with them.
So they sign a waiver, when they go to the polling place.
That's correct.
But they have to do a provisional ballot, like.
If they surrender the ballot, they vote regular. If it's not a ballot surrendered, then yes, they vote provisional. The provisionals go to the voter registrar. She makes the determination if they're counted, and if a mail ballot has already been sent in, the one first goes as the counting.
Anything else?
I just wondered, Brian, where will we stand legal? You know, are we gonna have issues from all of this?
Are you talking about from the vendor standpoint or from the
Vendor.
election standpoint?
Election, okay.
Well, I think that Judge put it right before, that we're not gonna know the impact of this until the very end. And so what I'm calling it is kind of the error zone, right? So I'm just gonna make the numbers even. Let's say we sent out 150 wrong ballots and we get back in 130 corrected ballots. Okay, so those corrected ballots are the ones that we count. So now the error zone's 20, right? And now we know which precincts those 20 went. And so, depending on how the elections turn out, we can decide whether that had an impact on the election or not. So, you know, if every opponent beats the other by 50 or more, then those 20 didn't matter. So the good thing, the positive is what we're dealing with very specific numbers. We know exactly the number of mail-in ballots that were sent out and
Yes.
requested, that were sent out by the vendor that could be wrong. And we're gonna know the amount of these yellow, been topic of conversations, let me just grab them. How many of these yellow ones we get back, which are the holy grail. They're the Trump domino, right, for any 42 player. And so you get those back, and those are going to tell us with how many real votes we have that are not have any sort of error involved in them. And so right now, I think that we have solutions in place of what we're doing, and we're not going to know the impact until the very end. And that's tough for all of us to deal with. I mean, I've run a race before. I know how it feels. It's kind of anxiety filled, right, on what's going to happen. But I think right now it's tough for us to make a call on what the end result is going to look like. The Secretary of State's very helpful. I called them as well, their legal team. They have those answers off the top of their head. And I think that, having the discussion about getting the error ballot in first and not getting the corrected ballot is probably the most concerning. Right, because now you're counting a ballot for some precinct where somebody doesn't live. The only thing I can think about from the Secretary of State standpoint is they're dealing with two different issues. One is counting a wrong ballot, and one is us encroaching on their right to vote. And I think what the Secretary of State is saying is that encroaching on their right to vote is the big no-no. And so what they're saying is you just gotta let that flow through and look at what the outcome is at the end on whether those incorrect ballots potentially made a difference in one of our elections. And so that's kind of where we're at. And again, I didn't really think that would have been the answer on counting the wrong ballot. I mean, I'm with everybody in this room on that, but they're very clear on that. And again, that's what I'm thinking is their concern of the county going in and taking somebody's ballot away. I think, state of Texas, United States of America, I think we need to stay away from that. And so hopefully the word gets out, and that's why we're having this meeting, right? That get these yellow ballots back in for anybody, whether they got 4 or 6, I mean, however many from this vendor. If they get this yellow ballot back in, that's the one that's going to be counted, and that's the one that's going to be correct. I didn't realize that about being able to go to the poll and getting it done. And so, again, it sounds like everybody's getting some word of mouth, whether it's their church or neighbors or things of that nature, and hopefully we can get the word out. That way our error zone is as low as it can be at the end of the day.
What steps will be taken if, like you said, if say the numbers are 50 or more, say they're 15 to 20, then what steps do we take?
It's a really good question, and what I'm kind of compartmentalizing this problem. Okay, so we're solving the problem the best way we can right this moment, and we will cross that bridge when we get there. And I hate to do that to you, and I hate to give, yeah, and I don't know that.
That is something to think about.
It is, and believe me, it's crossed my mind, about how this thing is going to end up playing out and what recourse we can have or what recourse a candidate can have at the end of the day. I don't know those answers right now. What I'm saying is we're having this meeting. We have a lot of people that talk to a lot of different people in the community, and what we need to be saying is...
newspaper people here, so we're hoping that y'all will help us out and get the word out.
And what we're hoping is to get as much of those yellow ballots back in to squeeze that error zone number where it doesn't impact us at the end of the day. But we shall see.
And we're through mailing out ballots right as of today.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way?
Excuse me, there might be 1 or 2. If you email an application in, you have 4 days to get the original in. I do have one that is holding the date that it requested, so there might be one like that.
Well, there's 183 sent out. Can we not call and contact those people? Because I know some folks that don't even know what's going on that's got these ballots. They don't know. These folks got 3 apiece. And they don't know nothing. They don't even know if they voted in the right precinct. It's gone. They done mailed it back. I mean,
Would you?
And there might be some that did get the correct ballot and voted with that original and sent it back.
Right.
Some of those may have been correct.
That's right.
We don't know that every one of the ones that C Change mailed was wrong, but some of them were wrong.
so being honest, 183, we can't make contact with those people and ask them how they're doing without too much trouble.
No, sir, it's not too much trouble. I'll do everything it takes to
We got their
fix.
names and addresses.
We do, but if we have a phone number on their application, we can contact them. If we have no phone number, we can do our best to try to locate a phone number for them.
A lot of these folks that I deal with on these mail-in ballots,
Yes, sir.
they're older than me, believe it or not.
Ooh.
And they have a little trouble with what they're doing.
That would be my next step.
Understanding the process, it's.
That would be my next
If you just send
step.
them one, yeah, they know what to do, but when they got, these folks have got 3, they just.
That's my next step. I will get on the phone and we will get every application we have available with phone numbers and we will give them a call. Yes, sir, I will do that. I'll start that
We kind of
today.
talked about that already.
Yes.
And at first, you think, well, there are only 2 precincts that have contested races. But the fact that people in precinct 1 and 2 may have got a 3 or 4 ballot, all of them will need to be.
I'll start that step today. As soon as we get back, we'll start with that method.
Is that information public where anybody else could get that list?
No, ma'am. Request for application for ballot by mail is not public, only whose have been returned.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I would like to make a comment. Mr. Russell was talking about a lot of older people who do this. I had opportunity years and years ago to be on the mail-in ballot board, is that what you call it? Where we actually receive mail ballots, check signatures, it's talking about, I don't know if it's changed much, but you'd be surprised, the people that, when you check these ballots out, just because they voted, a lot of them, the marker wasn't on the dot, I guess, or y'all, is that still kind of ballot y'all have?
They have to-
So, I mean, that was their job to see if they had intentionally tried to vote for that candidate or not. So there's a lot of people that vote, that mail in these ballots that actually don't get the pencil in the dot the right way or outside it, so they don't count that way. So, I
Or
mean,
forget to sign it, or who knows?
there's a lot of things that even though you mail in a ballot, don't mean that you're voting for a candidate or not voting for a candidate, the way how you do it, so.
Which is
It's
another
pretty
reason why
precise.
we have to wait and see.
That's why they have a ballot board, because you don't make that decision, you as a group make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just believe it's our job as county employees, we get that ballot to all those people, make them vote how they want to. If they can't write their name, that's their problem.
Well, I understand
Well,
that.
they can make their X. You can accept that
That's
too,
correct.
because that is a signature. That's the signature they use.
That's correct. So that'll be the step we'll take as soon as I get back today. I'll make sure things get in order and we'll start that process of calling everyone.
All right.
Sure will.
I want to say again, I appreciate Linda. I'm glad we had this meeting today to find out exactly what happened. And so now that we realize that it is not her mistake, it is the vendor that we have mistaken. So I do appreciate you trying to get on top of this and trying to make sure that all the people get the opportunity to participate in the voting process.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else,
I'd like to say thanks to all the counties that are here and not here for running the Freestone County, proud of everybody that wants to do it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
your motion to adjourn.
We'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye. We're adjourned.